You are listening to the Spiritual Warrior Coach with Barbara Savin, the podcast for discovering how powerful your wisdom, compassion, and courage is. Get ready to join Barbara and her guests as they explore and offer you advice on how to reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And now, here's the host of the show, Barbara Savin.
Well, thank you for joining me today, and welcome to the Spiritual Warrior Coach podcast. I am your host, Barbara Savin, and I am here to help you reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. I am a certified clinical and medical hypnotherapist, Reiki master and teacher, energy healing specialist, life coach, and best-selling author of Gentle Energy Touch, the Beginner's Guide to Hands-On Healing. You know, I have been helping my clients for over 35 years, and the older I get, the more wisdom seems to come through. So isn't it time that you believe in yourself? You know, your mind is going to provide you with your greatest challenges in life because it's so very, very powerful. So let's use that mind for positive thinking, creating harmony, balance, peace, love, happiness, and anything else that your heart desires. Because one day the world will tap you on your shoulder and say, this is your time to shine. And speaking about shining, I'm going to bring on my shining guest today. How are you, Rommie?
Oh, I'm good, Barbara. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm all excited about this interview, believe me. So let me tell my listeners a little bit about you. Rommie Buhler, she is a holistic animal health coach and communicator, animal energy worker, and training facilitator. Rommie is passionate about animal welfare and is driven to change the perceptions around how we communicate with them so that they can be more consciously looked after. And most people that have animals in their care, while very connected to them, are only seeing part of their health and well-being picture, and mostly through what they observe, what they think, and the things they already know. But when you communicate from a higher perspective and you have a conversation with them, you are able to see the whole picture. That means that you are able to support them in a way that they need, not in a way that we think that they need, as you see the truth behind behaviors, psychological and physical problems. And Rommie works globally, and she lives in Australia as I mentioned before, as an animal communicator, missing animals investigator, medical intuitive, and animal energy healer. Oh my, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, thank you. Isn't that a mouthful? It's like, what do you do? Just do one thing. It's great to be here, Barbara.
And how did all this get started for you?
Well, I've always been intuitive, and I just didn't really know how that looked. Things were happening around me, and, you know, some of the senses, the smell and the taste, I've always been hypersensitive with, and just that strong sense of knowing and feeling were always very heightened. But the clairvoyance, the seeing and the hearing was also, I just didn't know that's what it was. So my husband got secondary cancer diagnosis maybe about 12 years ago now. And I thought, while he had left work and he was just mucking around doing not much, doing cancer things. That's not much. I take that back. We had a dog with anxiety, and I thought he could go and learn animal communication, because as Facebook does, it just drops things in your feed. And I saw something about animal communication, and I thought that sounds really interesting. Now, I was brought up on a farm, a wheat and sheep property, so I've been around animals forever, and I just love them more than anything. So what I was really doing was giving him all of this information, buying him DVDs and books and Google links, when really that was for me. So he was like, oh yeah, you just read it and then just let me know what to do. And I'm devouring it going, oh my God, this is fascinating. But it was all for me. So I went off and I found an animal communicator in Australia, and just asked her, what is this? What do I do? And I had a mentoring session with her, and it made so much more sense. And so that moment, she said, get yourself a Facebook page and start work. And I did. So I haven't looked back.
So what did you do before this?
Well, I was mostly working in sort of male-dominated industries of, construction and engineering and mining and that type of thing, in sort of operations roles. And so, I don't know, it wasn't really ever about the job. It was always about what's wrong with that guy there or his staff member. And I would have this revolving door of just being the ears and the listener for all of these men that had issues and things going on. So I was working more with people and on that front, and I was very interested in energy medicine, and I was teaching yoga at the time, and meditation and things like that. So I was very angled towards the people, but men in particular, I had quite a soft spot for. So yeah, that's what I was doing before. And it's quite different, but it's sort of similar in a way. Yeah,
that it is. Yeah, because it's all energy work, and it's all feeling, and that knowing that without knowing how type of feeling.
Yeah, that's right. And I know before every day I would go to work, or I would go and teach a class, and I would just ask my guides if there is anyone that needs something from me today, or the whole room, or whatever it is, please help me do whatever it is that I need to do to help that person. So I was sort of already in touch with that side of, the work. And then I got stuck in, am I working with people or animals? And I got stuck there, not really knowing, where I was going. And I thought, all right, I need to make a decision, animals or people, because animals, there's always people. People, are guardians of animals. So I chose animals because that really is my passion, and they need more voices. So that was a bit of a no-brainer.
Oh, we've always rescued dogs.
Right.
And we've had Buddy, who passed away. He was 12. And then Sammy, who passed away when he was 11 and a half. He was a Roddy. And I'll tell you a story about Sammy in a moment. And then Rudy, who passed away, he was 16. The little girl, she passed away when she was 15 and a half. And then my Alex just passed away a few months ago, and he was 19 and a half.
Wow.
And, I would always do energy work on them. And with Sammy, he was a Roddy, and we had just moved from New York City to Florida to help my father, because my dad had a heart attack and he was taking care of my mother, who had Parkinson's. And when I was touching Sammy, he kept on telling me he needs to leave this world. And I said to him, what are you talking about? What do you mean you need to leave this world? Because you're going to move, and where you're moving to, you can't take me.
Right.
And I had no clue that 11 months from that moment, we were moving here to California. And Sammy passed away. It was like 2 months later. I mean, we were completely devastated, because I thought it was my mind playing tricks with me, but he actually communicated with me. And he said to me, don't be sad. This is my time to go, but you need to go. And I didn't know where we were going to, and that we couldn't take him. And it was as beautiful as it was that he was speaking to me. That's how devastated I was. Yes. And then when he passed on, it was even more devastating. But it's amazing if we just touch them and we could feel them, what their needs are. And I would imagine that's what you do with all of them.
Yes. They, I don't do a lot of energy healing, although everything is healing. I'm always sending healing to an animal when I'm communicating, and all my work is remote. So, probably 1% of my animal communication is face-to-face. And I've never been set up to have a space to do live animal healing. So I don't do a whole lot of that, but it is profound. The energy work with an animal, they ask for, can you please impress the energy of a sunflower into my energy field. Or I had a dog that had a torn cruciate from running in soft sand, which is something that dogs shouldn't do, is run in soft sand and chase things and, change direction and that sort of thing. But little dog had torn a cruciate. And so what he was asking for was the cocoon to be wrapped around his cruciate ligaments, and then wrapped around that was the spider's web. So we had to sort of infuse the energy of these two things to help support and brace that damaged joint. So, it's just so fascinating and so healing, as you know.
Without a doubt, because they do speak to us, and all we need to do is listen and pay attention, I feel.
That's right. Yes, 100%.
So let me ask you, do you feel that animals have like emotional and mental health issues just like we do?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. They really do. Animals are much better probably at processing some of these emotions than us if they are given the opportunity to. They take a lot of our stuff on. You would have heard the anxious dog, anxious mum, or anxious cat, anxious dad, whatever the combination is, but they take a lot of our emotion on, and our illnesses and things too. But there's a lot of animals with depression. There's a lot of animals with grief, even though their grief may be short-lived. There's angry animals and things like that. So yes, yeah. And that's a real problem, I think. That's one thing that I've found, that humans is like, oh, really? No. But they sort of see it. They can see their dog is, they're wallowing and they're sad and they're not eating much and they're not moving much. So you can get some signals from observing their behavior. But then why? Where does it come from?
Where's it coming from?
Mm.
Do you think that the animals are picking it up from their humans?
Some of it. Yeah, some of it. And, I had a cat many years ago who I didn't know this lady, and I didn't actually know who I was reading. I normally, when people book, they send me an image of their animal, so I know who I'm reading, their name and that sort of thing. And I start tuning in beforehand. But this lady was a cold call, and she was beside herself for some reason. And anyway, this cat was really, really depressed. Cat also had stomach cancer, had some digestive issues, but cat was very, very depressed. But what turned out to have happened was her brother had committed suicide, and the cat was very connected to her brother and had been trying to take some of his sadness away, and was then he passed, and it was only a week or two beforehand. And then the sadness was, I couldn't help him. So it sort of became, I'm trying to take it from him, then I couldn't help him. So yeah, it's that's where energy healing would really come into play, that you can communicate with them, that it's okay, that it wasn't their job, that they didn't need to do that. Mm-hmm. And then clear some of that energy out to bring them back into balance.
Do you see that with a lot of animals, that they get depressed because of us, or stressed because of us, or anxious?
Yes, I think there's a lot of, obviously the rescue animals struggle with sadness and things like that. But as I said, they can process it if they're given the opportunity to. They can process it quite quickly. So there's so many things we can do for anxieties and depression and these things, but we just need to know what is available and what we can do, and what we can do ourselves as well, because there's a lot of things we don't need to go to a holistic therapist or a vet or whoever for. And we like to treat, because we don't know what we don't know, we like to treat things like depression and for animals and people with medication. And that is not the answer. So, yeah.
It's funny. Sometimes I used to look at my little fur babies, And I would say, boy, I wish you could speak to me, like speak to me. But they did, in their own way,
Yeah.
communication way. But, it would have been like amazing if they could say something where we can actually hear. But
Yes. Yeah. And
so
that's where
not,
it gets hard, isn't it? Because it's, it's telepathy. So
Mhm.
receiving the information back is through images and thoughts and feelings and words and whatnot. And then you've got to interpret that as information based on what you know. And it's not like having this conversation. So it would be so much easier for everybody involved. Maybe
Yes.
one
Oh,
day
I
that
know.
will happen.
I know. Why wouldn't that be amazing? How do they
Yeah.
communicate with you? When,
Yeah.
yeah, like what do you do to have them speak to you?
I have all of the senses fairly highly tuned, and
Okay.
for missing animals and things like that, or dietary problems, I often work with taste and smell. So I kind of pick and choose the sense that I want to use. So I have the vision, I have the hearing, I have the knowing, I have the feeling. And so when I first connect in with an animal, I like to get, ask permission if it's okay to speak with them, because some of them are like, who are you? What are you doing here? Why are you in my space? And,
Uh,
oh, mum wants to talk to you. It's okay. Oh, okay. So I ask for permission, and then I like to get a general impression, and I like to get a sense of their essence, their personality. What kind of animal are they? What's their kind of MO? And, that can be anywhere from, like a human, from hyperactive and fun and funny. Those ones, interestingly, usually end up with people that struggle with depression, to try and lighten them up. I see that so much. And then there's the ones that are very reserved and quiet. And then there's the grumpy ones that just don't want to be disturbed. And so, I get their personality, and then we sort of get into, I feel that most of the time I will see an image of them being grumpy, but then I'll just know it. I know they're grumpy, and I'll feel they're grumpy. And they might even say something and it's got a tone about it that's really snooty, and say, oh, Ginger's got an issue today. So I do that. And then if we're looking at digestion, or if I'm trying to find a missing animal, I'll become them. I'll shift into their body, and then I'll feel under their feet. I'll smell through their nose, and I'll taste in their mouth, and I'll feel inside their body what that food is feeling like once it hits the stomach or the small intestine and whatnot.
wow. So what is I guess the most common problem that you see when you communicate with them?
Someone asked me that the other day, and it's a tricky question to answer because it's different by species. So horses, I think the most common problem that I'm asked about is, well, emotional health, because horses have real issues as well, especially when they're split up. They like to be around other horses, but when they're not around other horses, they get lonely. But a lot of the horse communication I do is around competition and training. And it may be that they want to talk to their rider about, what they're doing with their legs, or their arms are floppy and the reins aren't, being used right, or the saddle doesn't fit right, and this type of thing. Or for all animals, I'm getting asked about nutrition, and I'm feeding them this. Is that okay? I'm giving them this supplement. How does that feel for them? So horses pretty much around the competition, the dressage, the show jumping, the eventing, that sort of thing. Cats and dogs, digestive issues come up all the time. I'd say, I'm not going to say 100%, but I'll say 99. I'll go out on a limb.
Yeah.
Because we've domesticated them and we're not feeding them the way that they would feed themselves in the wild. And so cats particularly have a lot of issues. Cats could live so much longer. And I was talking to a fellow from Steve's Real Food last year about this, and he was telling me about a cat in America that lived until he was 38. So cats can live a long time, much longer than they are, which, dogs would be the same. So digestive issues is a real problem. And the same as us, digestive issues creates anxiety. You know, Chinese medicine, the digestive system holds anxiety and irritability and that sort of thing. So, you know, you're sort of talking a physical health problem, but it flicks into the emotional as well.
I've noticed lately, I mean, some of my clients will tell me, oh, my dog has cancer or diabetes or some illness, which sometimes I find I don't know if years ago the animals had those illnesses, or maybe we just didn't know about them.
Yes, I think there's probably a bit of both. We probably didn't know about them, and now we've got tests for a lot of things that we can find these things out. But yeah, I think many decades ago, animals didn't have the diseases that they have now. You know, there was a lot of cats probably roaming more free. They're bored. People are trying to keep them inside. Cats are not inside animals. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
No, they're not.
Cats are hunters. Love them or hate them, they are hunters. That's their innate way of being. So they need to be outside. They need to be stimulated. And, you know, we go to work and we don't really have time for them. So we don't play with them. They sleep a lot. They eat badly. And, you know, they're also quite independent. And we try and bring in 5, 6 cats into one house. And then we've got a little bit of behavioral stuff going on.
Yeah, my daughter has, well, three dogs and 2 cats, and the cats are fine, you know, as long as they don't go near one of the dogs.
Yes.
Then the dog gets upset. The cat wouldn't care less with the dogs, but the dog gets upset. So it amazes me that way sometimes. And, you know, they're different personalities.
Yeah. I mean, they're just like us, really, isn't it? If we went to a classroom, I don't want to sit near that person because I don't really like them much. I'm going to go and sit over there. They're kind of the same.
Yeah, they are. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now, besides like horses and cats and dogs, do you work on like all types of animals? Like snakes, alligators. I mean, of course, not, you know, touching, but you know, communicating.
Yeah. Look, I can communicate with absolutely anything, you know, whether it's a tree. You know, we just bought a house recently. I checked in to see if the land under this house was going to hold us, and it's good land. So you can actually communicate with anything and everything. So my clients aren't necessarily alligators and snakes and whatnot. You know, dogs, cats, horses are my 3 main streamers. I have the odd guinea pig and rabbit. And just for interest's sake, when I go to, and it's not very often, but there's a sanctuary that I have been to a few times that has crocodiles and alligators and dingoes and snakes and all koalas and all those types of animals. And I'll go and talk to them just to see how they're feeling inside their enclosures and just in general. So it's very interesting talking to wild animals. I love communicating. There was a point a few years ago where I thought, I wonder how animals treat stress. How do they deal with stress? So I started to do little mini interviews with kangaroos and giraffes and whoever. I just open the door. Any animal that wants to come and talk to me today, I'm available. And then I'd just wait and I'd just see whatever animal it was. It's like the spokesperson for the group would come in and have a chat. So you can talk to any animal, and it's very interesting. They're all different.
I know. And I, you know, many times when I used to take the grandkids to the zoo, now they're all in college and whatever else, so they don't go to the zoo anymore. Yeah. I would look at some of the animals and I can feel that they do not want to be there.
Yeah.
And you could just sense it, the way their movement, the way they look. And sometimes I used to feel so horrible, you know, going to the zoo, because of course the kids love to go to the zoo, but the animals, they're unhappy.
Yeah, they are. And I struggle going to the zoo too. I don't remember the last time I went to like a proper zoo, but I don't know when I will be going back there. It doesn't feel right to me, but
No.
this is not their natural country or, environment and location to be. And the sanctuaries are a little different in terms of bringing in injured animals to rehabilitate, to put back out into their environment if they are able to. But a lot of the animals in there can't go back. There's an eagle that I was talking to. I was walking towards this eagle. I sort of hadn't really seen it yet, and I just heard this voice, and it was really, really grumpy. And I don't like being in here. It was something like that. And I sort of looked up and looked around, and ahead of me was this eagle enclosure. And it was a big enclosure, but there is no way this eagle could have really, and she had broken her wings, so she couldn't really fly. I don't know whether she could fly a little bit or not at all. So I guess they made the enclosure dependent on that. But this eagle would prefer to die than be held captive, is sort of how they viewed it. And it was really, I mean, we try to be kind. We try to do our best for our animals. This sanctuary is immaculate. They do the best for their animals, but what does the animal want? The animal doesn't want to be there. I spoke to the snake that was being the handled snake. Excuse me. There were a few snakes there, and one of them was the python that came out and you drape around your neck and that sort of thing. That snake did not like that. Didn't like being manhandled, didn't like being passed from that person to that person. And, you look at the snake and you'd think, I don't even know what that snake's thinking, so let's just pick it up and wrap it around. So I don't know. I do struggle with those environments as well. It's very difficult for the animals.
I feel it is, especially like for the larger animals like your lions and tigers and the elephants, especially, and the giraffes. You look at them, they're not happy. You just know it.
Yes.
And especially circus animals, which is so abusive.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think there's no more circus. I'm not quite sure if they banned that or not. But yeah, that animal must be probably, if you were to speak to a circus animal, it would have to say so much.
Yeah, I haven't actually spoken to a circus animal, but it would be interesting to.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm.
I can imagine it would be quite sorrowful, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of people ask me about horse racing because there's so many people really angry about the horse racing industry in Australia, probably globally. But, I hear a lot about it here because there's a lot of horses that, they get put down if they don't perform or if they break a leg or whatever. Of course, they get put down. And, there's a lot of anger around that industry. And so I've always been quite interested and try to be really neutral and not buy into that anger or the other side from the actual industry itself, and just sit neutrally there and ask about it. And we had a Christmas party. My husband's work had a Christmas party at the races, and I thought, I really didn't want to go. But I thought I'll use my time wisely here, and I'll go and talk to all the horses as they're coming into the gates and racing, and just see individually how they all feel about that. And, most of these horses are getting looked after extremely well. I mean, people want to make money out of them, so of course they are, but the trainers love them. And this is generalization because there'd be trainers that are problematic as well. But, mostly the horses that win absolutely love it. They have no interest in the human involvement. They think we're a little bit wacko, but doing all of this, but they love the winning and the feeling of, stretching out and racing full tilt. There's other horses that would rather just go and have a chat to their friend in the paddock next door, and they will never win. And then there's some that kind of come in between. They like it and then they don't, and then they like it and then they don't. So that's something that I find just with horses in competition generally is, I don't want to do show jumping. I want to do barrel racing. I don't want to do this, but I'd be happy to do that. So there's a lot of animals, a lot of horses that are in the wrong kind of arena, if you like. So they wanted to do something competitive, but just not that particular thing. So
how do you think they would communicate that to the person that owns them?
yeah, not performing.
Yeah.
Not performing,
Just not
balking at
performing.
jumps, just being obnoxious, and
Wow.
that type of thing. So, and that's often what happens is, the client will come to find me because that horse is just being erratic or problematic or whatever they're doing. And they used to be really focused and have great concentration and, get first, second, or third. And now they're not doing that, and they're doing these other frustrating things. And the rider can't seem to handle the horse to bring it around and come back to where he came from. So this is animal communication, is not necessarily fixing the problem, but it's getting the why. Why are you doing this? Why do you feel that way? So, okay, why are you being obnoxious? Why are you balking at jumps? Why are you just, lolling around doing not very much? And you used to be here. Well, I don't like it anymore. I don't want to do this. I've had enough. I'm tired. You get to the end of the season and they're tired. So we just like to push and push and push because we want to win, or we want to place, or we want to get better at our craft. But it's a two-man team. And mind you, the people that I'm very fortunate. The people that I speak to with horses are amazing. They do and I guess they come to me. So they have to be amazing, not to come to me, but to actually think there's something wrong with my horse. I want someone to find out why and get to the problem. And so, I've been very lucky with my clients.
So when you do say a horse that doesn't want to race anymore or whatever, does your client listen and then say, don't do that for the horse anymore?
Well, that's the other side. Yes. Not necessarily does it. I mean, I suppose I haven't heard the long-term outcomes of some of these horses. Most of them I know are still doing whatever it is they were doing. But, I think from a racing point of view, this is about money. It's a business. So I would imagine that the ones that would rather pick flowers at the back of a paddock that are just never going to place, they would probably be sold off. And, this is the other thing with horses is they get rehomed. And it's very stressful for them.
Yeah, because they've made friends with the other horses. Now you're taking them away.
Yeah.
It's just like us, the same scenario. If you're living in an area with your kids for say 15, 16 years, and then you up and move somewhere and the children don't have their friends, they get this. I feel this the same way. We get very lonely.
Yes.
And we're upset.
Yeah.
So the animals do
very
exactly the same.
Yeah, they do. That's right. And even just, the pets that mum and dad go to work all day, and the pets are sitting at home all day by themselves. They get lonely and they get bored, and dogs can get quite destructive. I've always had dogs from the minute I was born. I've had dogs and cats. And what I've found is dogs that are by themselves are very destructive. Might be the breed that we've had, but when we started bringing in a friend for them, they had someone to be with all day. So we've always had two dogs. If one passes, we'll sort of bring in another one and try and give them company, because it's very, very lonely for animals.
Lonely. Yeah, we've always had two. For that same reason, that when we're out and working or whatever, they always have each other. And that's what I always felt, that people should do that. Have two, but some people, they just have the one. And I know, I said to myself, wow, the cat or dog must be lonely because it's by itself. There's no one to communicate with or play with.
Yeah. And then when we do come home, we're not very present with them. We pat on the head and pick up a bit of a scratch on the neck, put them down, and then we go about our business. So, they are just devouring us with their eyes, going, oh, come on, let's chat, let's love each
Play.
other, let's go for a walk, let's play, let's do something.
Mm-hmm.
And we just don't have the time for them. Not everyone is like that, but a lot of people aren't fully present, and they don't have the time that they need. And there's another thing that I see quite often, and I understand both sides of this, but people buy big dogs, but they can't afford to feed them well. So
Nice.
Animals eating dried food, in my opinion, is just setting themselves up for disease and behavioral issues and all that sort of thing. So but that's all they can afford. So don't buy the big dog, buy the dog that you can afford to feed well. So be fair. It's a responsibility having an animal in your care.
Very much so. This is a little far-fetched question, but like a mother dog, a female dog that gives birth, and then we take the babies away and we sell them. There has to be a feeling where she misses them.
Oh, yes.
I mean, there has to be, because here she's, fed them and takes care of them, and then we just take them away and we, sell them off. And sometimes we just sell one, or maybe if the puppy is lucky, two go along to be adopted. But there has to be a feeling there where there's devastation because you're taking away their babies.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great question, actually. That's not far-fetched at all, because that is something I've seen a lot lately. Fits and spurts. You'll always see we've got this lower back problem in all of the clients for that month. And then, but that is something that I've seen a lot lately, and not necessarily from the mother's side, but from the puppy or the kitten's side, is that they've been weaned far too early and they want their mum. And they miss their mum, and it's very, almost quite heart-wrenching when you're communicating with them and getting the feeling of how it was for them. And even I had I can't quite remember the full story of this one, but the mother was being driven across rough roads through New South Wales to vets, I think, for some reason, and one of the puppies inside was getting bounced around and, jiggled and jangled, and had a real problem with being in the car and anxiety. And so when I was communicating with this dog, not a puppy anymore, with this dog, I was guided to go back into the womb and see what was happening for the mother dog and what was happening for that actual puppy in the womb. And so there was a lot of stuff that was going on there. This just rough roads and potholes, banging down into potholes. And so the car sickness went way back from then, and also this anxiety. And that also related then to being weaned at 8 weeks. Like even 12 weeks is barest minimum.
I know. I feel so bad for them sometimes when I look and I see little puppies and I say, wow, they have to miss the mom.
Yes. Yeah. And then they're going to some strange human's house.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And everyone loves them. They're getting handled, and then, and we think that they are excited because they wag their tails and they look excited. But a lot of that time, they're just freaking out. They're nervous and they're anxious and they're scared. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a fine line with dogs with that look, which looks like fun and happiness, and it's actually fear and anxiety. So it is a difficult one, but we can't change that industry in a great rush, I don't think.
No, I don't think so at all. And I, like for myself, I look at them and like when I go into someone's, my friend's house and the dog looks happy, but I could feel the dog feels anxious because there may be too many people in the house.
Yes. Yeah.
And we do not think about that, the animal feeling that way. No.
And that's all the things that we need to learn more. And, as I said before, with something else, we don't know what we don't know. And this is why we need to talk about this more, because people will listen to this and they'll hear you talk about that and say, oh, that's a great point. I will be more mindful of that. I'll watch out for it because, you know, animals are hypersensitive as well. They know people very, very well. They can read energy of people, and you'll see that. So you have a house full of people and there's all these different energies and it's chaotic, and, you know, there's someone that's really angry. Their energy is really surly and their energy is hyperactive and hysterical. And then the dog's trying to hide under the bed and someone's dragging the dog out to come and say hello to everybody. And they just go, yeah.
So please leave me alone.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. I would want to hide also.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's where we need to actually have the hiding spot for the dog. And when we have these situations, we let them know, you know, on Friday night, we're having John, Jenny, you know, Fritz, we're having all these people over. It might be a little bit chaotic for your energy. Go to your hiding spot. So, you know, and you'll know where the hiding spot is because they will be hiding in it when things are challenging for them. And it might be a crate. You know, if people are crate training their dogs, crates are very secure and safe for them so they can feel comfortable away from the chaos.
Yeah, I think we need to communicate more with our pets.
Yes. Yeah, we do. Yeah. Talk to them like they're 7 years old, you know, they understand us.
Yeah, that I know they do. Now, let me ask, do you actually also talk to pets that may have passed?
Yes.
Or pets that have, I don't know if a pet has dementia or if they're in a coma, you know, things like that.
Yeah. You know, that's pets that have passed. Yes, many of them, and dogs that have, and cats too, that have dementia, or what's the sundowning syndrome. And a lot of dogs will start sort of staring into walls or into corners, and they're starting to lose their faculties a little bit. So, but you can communicate with them very easily. So while they may not, and deaf animals as well, while they may not hear you, they are very easy to communicate with and find out how they're going, because animals, you know, they understand the process of death and life, and it's just what they call recycling. They just go back into the earth and they come back at some point. So when they get dementias and things like that, it's okay for them. I haven't spoken to any animal that has some kind of emotional mental health problem because they have Alzheimer's or dementia or sundowning syndrome or, you know, some other trauma. It's just, that's life. That's part of life. And we'll move through that. I know that's difficult for mum and dad because they don't know what to do with me, and they don't know how to help me. They just want to give me medication. Maybe there's something that can give me some respite, but they're fine with it. I find acupuncture is great for a lot of things. Energy healing, as you were talking about before, you know, just anything that can keep the energy flowing through the entire body can just, it may not fix them of some of these things, but it can certainly help give them some balance for a period of time.
Now, what about like the toys that we buy them? I'm curious. Do they actually like them? Or do they find them annoying because they squeak so much?
No. I mean, that would be individual to a dog or a cat, but in general, they love their toys because it means they're getting their person is interacting with them, and they're getting some exercise and stimulation, because like us, they're built to move. So when they're sedentary and they're sitting around home all day and they're waiting for someone to come and play with them, that's just a highlight. And then you've got certain dogs that love, you know, the frisbee and the tennis ball and running and chasing things as well. So they love their toys. Cats love mostly love the fish that sits on the end of a stick or the bird. Yeah. But what happens with that is, you know, we kind of dangle that thing over there while we're typing an email or texting or something like that. So they lose a little bit of interest if we're not fully engaged with them. So we need to, same thing, we need to just be fully present and engaged while we're playing with them. Yeah, but so they do love them. And there's a bulldog that I spoke to some years back, and this dog loved irritating his dad. And so there was like a red ball that squeaked. And what he didn't like was when he chewed, and he would break it. When he chewed it so much, the squeak would go. So, but he loved, because it irritated his dad terribly, and he'd just be squeak, 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 squeak. So animals can be very intentional, which just is hilarious.
Oh, I never thought about that one.
Yeah.
That they can do it intentionally.
Mm.
Do you think it's because they want our attention, or they just want to annoy us?
Yeah, either way. But for them, annoying someone is really just getting them to lighten up and have fun and laugh and, come and play with me. So yeah, there's a bit of both of that.
Oh, that's hysterical. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my he would constantly, but we always took him for a walk. It was Rudy. We did everything with him. So, but yeah, he had this one toy that he would just go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, one day that toy's going to break. So I actually looked to buy him the same toy, which I did find, so that if that one broke, he'd have another one. But yeah, it's amazing that they just love certain things.
Yeah. Yeah. The tug of war rope. They love that, certain dogs. And, a lot of this too is about this feeling on their gums. So the chewing is not so much cleaning their teeth, but it's a feeling, this sensation, I guess, on their gums when they're chewing certain toys. So sometimes the squeak is not what it's all about. It's just this feeling that they get when they chew them. So yeah, toys are good.
Toys are good. Yeah, that's what I thought. What when I used to take ours to the vet, they knew they were going to the vet, and they wouldn't want to come out of the car. It would be like, please don't take me. They would like just lunge and like didn't want to go. It amazed me. They knew. I think the animals, they do know if they're going to a vet.
Yes, animals know everything. They know when you're taking them for a walk. They know when they're going to be fed. They know when they're going to the vet. And the reason that is because they are telepathic, and we cannot not have an image in our mind of what we're going to do or what we're doing. And if I say to you, red apple, you can't not have an image of a red apple in your head. We are wired that way to have images in our mind, and they're reading those. So when we've organized the vet visit 3 days beforehand. So we have this image, and then we get this feeling, oh my God, Rusty hates the vet. This is going to be just hard work. How am I going to do it? All right, well, I won't tell him. I'll just get him into the car. But the whole time you're telling him exactly what's going to happen. Exactly. I'll put his lead on. I'll get him in the car, and we'll get there, and I'll just be nice and loving to him. But he's seeing all of these images. So you're actually better off. And then you feel anxious because you know how much he hates it. So you've got to control your own kind of fear around this, or the frustration or the anxiety, whatever the emotion is. Control that feeling within yourself, pull that energy right into your solar plexus, and just pretend that it's all great and roses, and just let them know we're going to the vet, and you're going to see Susie, and you've seen her before. She's lovely. And you show the image of Susie, and she's gentle. And we're going to take a little bit of blood, and you're going to feel just this little prick in your arm, and they're going to show, to kind of paint the scene, but make it, enjoyable or comfortable for them. And then, get all those chakras open as well, that base chakra of survival and safety.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're driving there, just, have some classical music playing. This Janet Marlowe she's in Connecticut, I believe. She was a composer of classical and jazz music. And 25 years ago or so, she started composing music for animals in the frequency that they can hear. So she has music for horses, music for dog, music for cats, music for birds. So birds plucking feathers, dogs that are anxious or get car sick or moving house or whatever it is, cats with all of those issues, horses that have trouble being locked in a barn, or they don't like to be put in a trailer. You can play this music, and it's all right in the center of their hearing.
Oh, wow.
And so cats and dogs, I think, of flutes and strings. Horses is a little bit more staccato, rhythmical music. And you play this, and it just really calms their nervous system. And so they can feel more comfortable. And you can play this in the car. You can play it, and it's very nice for humans to listen to. So you can play it all day long. If you're going to work, put this music on and off you go. She has these little pods that have 8-hour battery life, and the music just plays over for 8 hours.
Wow.
So I've had a lot of clients with anxious animals and horses that hate being in a float, and it's made such a huge difference for them. So, I think the vet goes into that as well, and even being at the vet. If the vet's okay with it, leave the music there if they're staying overnight and that sort of thing, just so they can feel more calm within themselves. Flower essences are good just to calm them down to get to the vet. So yes, we just need to make sure our images of the whole vet visit are not what you've seen before, which is traumatic. And
I know.
Yeah, create a new image.
Well, it's funny sometimes. Bath time could be a little crazy making too, if they don't want one.
Yeah. There's some negotiation that happens
negotiation.
there.
Oh, I know. It's like, oh, please, you really need a bath, And for some of our dogs love the bath, and then after the bath, they'd be running all over the house. So happy. I guess that they were happy, or they're happy that they're out of the bath. I wasn't quite sure which it was, but yeah, bath time is another stressful situation for some animals.
Yes, it really is. And, there are dogs love to stink. Let's just get it out there. They love smelly stuff. And if there's a dead bird and they're allowed to, they'll go and roll in it. They're just like, oh, this is good stuff. So, bath time for them is highly unnecessary. And it is, if the water's freezing cold or too hot, of course, normally we have them, well, if they're not in a bath, if they're out on the garden hose, they might be tied to a tree and they can't, or you've got a hold of their collar, they can't get away from you. Right. So they're stuck in this situation where they feel unsafe and they can't get away from something they actually don't really like. And then it's the images, we create the image of the behavior we want, we create the image of the scene that we want. And if we know they hate it, we're already creating those images of this, awful time trying to wash them. And some animals you can negotiate with and explain to them why you want to do something, and they'll take that on. And other animals will listen to that, and then they'll still do whatever they want. Oh, yeah. Just like us.
That's exactly, I was just going to say that. We don't listen.
Yeah. Good information. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you also teach people how to do this, right?
I do. Yes. I have an online, just a foundation level self-paced animal communication course. So people can get on there. You've got 12 months to do it. So you can just get on there and work your way through it. And then I do some lives. Now this year has just completely disappeared from me, and it's July already. Well, it's July here. So I normally do face-to-face trainings, and I do the occasional online, Zoom sort of training. So yes, I'm not sure what's happened this year. I've had a lot of people inquiring, and I've also had, interestingly, I don't have children and I don't really have anything to do with children. And I've had a lot of mothers inquiring about their kids doing animal communication training. And in fact, I was back at my parents' house on the other side of the country about 4 weeks ago, and my little cousin, who is 6, absolutely loves animals. She'll go and grab the chickens out of the chicken hutch, and she'll bring them inside at 5 a.m. in the morning, and she'll just be standing there at the end of her mum and dad's bed with the chickens, and then she'll have the dog under the arm, and she knows all the snakes' names out in the field.
Oh my!
And she came to see me her mum is more my age, and she came to see me while I was there, and she said, "Mum, can you get Rommie to show me how to communicate with animals?" And so, Kylie said, "Yes, I'll ask her." And of course, I'm thinking, how on earth do I do that? This is so great. This is the age where she's not at school yet. So you're not analyzing and getting into that analytical mind. You've still got the creative freedom. Anyway, so she wanted to talk to her chicken, Rocky. And I said to her, "Do you have a question for Rocky?" And she said, "I want to know how old he is. I don't know how old he is." I said, "All right. Okay. So close your eyes." And I'm thinking, I'm saying things like energy fields, and I'm thinking at the same time, oh, she's 6 years old. She won't know what an energy field is. So I was just scrambling along, trying to teach her like an adult, and make it childlike. So I toned it down a little bit and made it childlike. And I said to her, "Now you might see an image, you might see a number come into your mind, or you might hear a number come into your mind, or you'll just know how old Rocky is. How old is Rocky?" And she says, 3. He's 3 years old. And I said, "Okay." So, and, Mum was talking to someone else in the house. So we waited for a little bit, and she said, "I want to go and talk to that rose bush out in the garden." So off we went to have a talk to the rose bush. And I said, "What do you want to ask the rose bush?" And she said, "I just want to see if the rose bush is happy." All right. So we did the same thing. And I said, "What did you feel?" She said, "I feel really, really happy. This is really good. This is a really good spot." So we came back inside, and I said to Kylie, how old is Rocky? And she said, "Oh, 3. And I thought, I was blown away. I don't know why.
Wow.
But this is the age, isn't it? It's like, get them to do this young and not lose it, not, get into life and forget how to do it. And so we can have these relationships with our animals. And as you said at the beginning, it's about giving the animal what they need, not what we guess or hope or think they need. Because observation is not the whole picture.
No, it's not at all. Oh, wow. I can sit here forever speaking to you. But
it's my favorite subject, Barbara.
I know it is. Yeah, actually, believe it or not, but it's my favorite ones also. And it's been a little lonely in my home since Alex passed away, April. And I said to my husband, maybe it's time to get 2 little babies again. So,
yes,
but I know that it'll happen when the timing is right. And then they'll look at me, I'll look at them and know they need to come home with me. So,
yes, absolutely.
And that's how, all of our rescues were. Once we looked, they looked at me, eye contact, and I could hear them say, "Take me." They all came home.
Yeah. I see a little dog behind you. Actually, I see a tan and white dog, which looks a little bit Jack Russell like.
Oh, that's my little girl, Sandy.
Oh, is it?
She passed 4.5 years ago. Mm-hmm.
Ah, she's got beautiful ears.
Yes. They always used to, I always used to tell her, "Who's my little girl? Who's my little girl?" And then she put up her ears, and oh God.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she's showing me her ears. So I was thinking that might be someone waiting to come to you, but that's your old Sandy. Wow.
Probably my little girl. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, don't be surprised if she's not coming back to you.
Oh, I would love that.
And you'll see that in her mannerisms, and there'll be some little things that you think, hang on a minute, that's what Sandy used to do, or a feeling that you get from her.
Well, when we adopted Sandy, the little girl, and Alex, they reminded me of my Buddy and Sammy.
Right.
Everything about them was the same. And I said, all right, they reincarnated, but they reincarnated tiny, whereas the other dogs were big dogs.
Yes.
And so, I'm hoping 2 little babies will come my way.
Oh, they're not too far off. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think
send me a photo when you get them.
Yes, I will. So where can my listeners get a hold of you?
Oh, well, I am on my website, which is rommiebuhler.com. And I know it's a difficult name. Perhaps if you can just have my name in the link there for the spelling. So my website has all of my information. You can book readings and healings and things through there. and my Facebook page at the Holistic Animal Health Coach, and Instagram and TikTok, all of these social media things we've got to do, Barbara. I'm everywhere. But the Holistic Animal Health Coach is where I am for all the socials, and rommiebuhler.com is my website.
Okay, I'll make sure I have everything on our show notes. That's for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for today. I mean, I truly appreciate you coming. And
my pleasure.
yeah,
it's been great.
We love our pets, whether they're little hamsters or birds or cats or dogs. We'll do anything for them to make them happy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we will. And education is key. I've often thought, where did we learn? Where did I learn how to look after an animal? Well, it was from mum and dad on the farm, or the occasion that you had to go to the vet and whatever the vet was treating. So we don't really learn, lot different now because we've got Google, but we don't really learn how to look after our animals. Not that we don't love them, we just don't know. So thank you so much for having me. This is something I'm quite passionate about, is getting the education side out there. So I've really thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you today.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you. Believe me. And my little girl, hopefully she'll be around very soon. She'll come back. And Alex, the both of them together. They have to be together.
Yes.
But thank you again, Rommie, for a beautiful interview, very educational. And thank you to my listeners for listening today. And I hope you heard what you needed to hear. And visit me at motivateyourlife.net. And please subscribe to this YouTube channel, the Spiritual Warrior Coach Podcast. We're also on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio. We are international. We are everywhere. And for maybe those of you that are interested in learning energy healing, check out my book on Amazon, Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-On Healing. So again, thank you so much, Rommie, for a beautiful interview, very educational. And to all my listeners, have a beautiful week filled with love and with light. Love, Barbara.